Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to start recording and we'll get started. I wanted to thank all of you so much for joining us tonight and participating in our diversity and inclusion series, Allies for Change. We're excited to participate here tonight because we're honoring our veterans. And so my name is Kim Iozzi. I'm the Executive Director of Dress for Success Northern New Jersey. And this month, with our focus on veterans, we have a great panel tonight that I'm really excited to introduce. First, I'd like to introduce Juliet Foster, who is the Director of the Division of Veterans Affairs in the Department of Health and Human Services. And you're located in Jersey City, right, Juliet? Okay. She is also a veteran of the U.S. Air Force and an active member of her Jersey City community. I don't know if you want me to brag or not, but in 2019, she was nominated Veteran of the Year. So congratulations to you and thank you.
Thank you.
Also tonight with us, we have Melanie Talbot. And Melanie is a veteran of the U.S. Marine Corps. She works at MTA headquarters, which is not an easy job. She works in procurement systems, and she is a specialist there supporting Oracle and PeopleSoft. So welcome, Melanie. And last but not least, we have Sam Lark Jr., who is a military spouse, but also a new dad. And in addition to that, he's an international speaker. Do I dare say social media guru? What should I call you?
Honestly, just Sam.
All right,
Dad.
Sam.
All that stuff that you read was in the past. Now that I have a child, it's all new.
No, it's game's on now when you have a child. That's when the real work begins.
Yeah.
So thank you all very much for joining us tonight. Each of you brings a very unique perspective to this critically important topic of conversation. Tonight, we're going to ask just a couple of questions, trying to get different perspectives. I'm going to probably start by asking one of you, and then if the others want to chime in, that would be fantastic. So first, I am going to start with Juliet and ask what you did do in the military. What was your job after training? How long you served? Just tell us about your experience.
Sure. Thank you for starting me. It's such an honor, first of all, Kim, really to be here. I really appreciate being in this space, especially to my right, I have Melanie, who, like any woman who serves in the Marine, has my total respect. So my sister, I appreciate you. And I know what you've gone through. I've been there and done that. So thank you. Thank you. So basically what I did in the military was I was a security police officer. So I went in, I did basic, came out, served as a security police officer. My story is a little different from, well, it's not really that different. My story of service, I served for about a year and got out on a congressional congressional intervention, basically, because I went through MST. And, you know, once you experience something like that, unfortunately, that follows you, and they make it very difficult it makes it very difficult for you to stay in. And people up on top, up the ladder, right, up the chain of command, make it very difficult for you to stay in, and make you believe that you're the one who's crazy. And but the best thing that could have ever happened to me was being removed from the military, to be honest with you, because I don't know, you know, really where my life would have taken its turn. I do still believe that I was robbed of an opportunity, but I don't, because look at where I'm at today because of serving for that short amount of time. It's short to me because, you know, the romanticism for me of going into the military and putting on a uniform was taken from me. But you know, when you come out and you are able to work through those issues and work through what you are dealing with mentally, you become a better and stronger person. And I am a better and stronger person today because of all of that, because I've learned to handle that, you know, and I've learned to to get the guidance that I needed from the people that were put in my life to surround me and walk me through a process to become the woman that I am today. So I'm actually grateful for it at the same time.
Excellent. Why did you choose the Air Force? What was it about that? Everybody's got a different reason why they join wherever.
I didn't think I could cut it as a Marine. Navy just didn't appeal to me. Army was, I don't know. So Air Force just seemed to be the way to go. I just fell in love with the idea of serving my country, right? It was this romanticism of serving my country that I cared about. And it didn't matter what branch of service I went into, I was going to make the best of it. And that's what I wanted to do. So Air Force fit for me. It was my fit, and I don't regret it. I don't regret it.
Excellent. Thank you. How about you, Melanie?
I was in the Marine Corps for just a little less than 8 years. And I was at Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. I didn't travel much. And my job in the Marine Corps was a supply chain specialist. So I've been doing supply chain a long time. And that job we had to buy. So we would buy all the different things that the military needs. That was part of my job, to buy that. And what was the other part of your question?
How long did you serve?
Yeah, almost 8 years. And then working for supply chain, buying, I came out. I have 2 children. And I got out because I really, I was not comfortable with them. I would have to travel. I had been there all that time and I hadn't traveled. And travel was coming up. I was gonna have to go to Okinawa, Japan. And at that time, I didn't feel comfortable going there. So I didn't go, I came out. But now I love to travel. And if the table would turn, I probably would have said, nope, I'm taking my kids to Okinawa, Japan. So they would have been in Japan, but no, I didn't do that.
And that would have been a good experience for them.
Maybe, yeah, I'm not sure if they want to go. They're actually on the call now. So I want to just thank my family right now, because I got family on here. I got my sister Connie, I got my 2 kids, I got my nephew Kenny, I got my sister Pamela that's on there with my mom.
Families in force here. This is great.
Families in Melanie force. Show.
I want to thank them. I want to thank them so much for joining.
And I imagine that you couldn't have done it without your family.
I could not do it without my family. I need that family around.
Yeah. So speaking of families, Sam, military spouses have unique challenges, putting it mildly. And I wanted to see if you can talk about some of the challenges that you faced as a military spouse and how you overcame them.
Sure. So similar to Julia, and before I even get into it, thank you, for having me. It's definitely a pleasure being with you all. I feel so honored to be amongst so much greatness, because knowing that my wife is a woman of color and served in the military, I know not only do women have a challenge in the military, women of color specifically have even more of a challenge. So kudos to you 2 ladies for your service. You definitely have persevered. My wife, she served for 16 years, Air Force, load master. If you're familiar with the C-17, it's in like many of these movies like Fast and the Furious and Transformers. It's that big plane. She was in charge of anything, weapons, people, you name it. If she says it's not loaded correctly, it does not pull off. I don't care what rank you are. So, and she had the guts to tell people, no, we ain't doing it.
Nice.
To answer your question, one of the biggest challenges for me was, how your spouse or your mate goes to work and it's like, hey, how was your day? Tell me about your day. That cannot always happen in the military. There's certain things that she just cannot share with me. So it was a little lonely at times. It was kind of hard to make a connection. And I would actually travel with her. And also, I'll mention earlier, my situation wasn't the same as many people. Like my wife didn't really deploy for like months at a time. Thankfully, she did her full-time service like before we got together. So when we came together, she was a reservist, and she just did, her 2 weeks a month, and a year, and the rhyme and the reason. So I would go with her to the base at times, and then she would have these gatherings with other members of her squadron, and they're talking about this military stuff, and I'm just sitting there with a plate, feeling so out of
Right.
sorts. But I just had to pretty much realize that I had to be patient and allow her to let me in, whatever she felt comfortable with sharing and what she could, she did. And over time, it got better. I was able to connect with some of the other spouses. Unfortunately, I didn't really see too many male military spouses. I'm like a unicorn, male, black, and a spouse. Like, oh my goodness. But I was able to connect with a lot. So being understanding, being patient, and just, going with the flow really helped me make that transition from being in civilian world to now into the military world. Things are definitely different.
Right, right. Did you, I know your background, you mostly worked for yourself. But was it hard when she was in the military with work?
Actually, I do public speaking, but I have a day job. Thankfully, going back to what we said before we started this, my current company gave me like 16 weeks to, be on paternity
Pretty
leave.
awesome.
Very awesome. You don't hear that too often. But it really wasn't as big of a challenge, so to speak. I've had my challenges. And funny, I do remember one situation where one of the recruiters, I'm not going to say any names, of course, said that, after the phone interview, I always ask, hey, is there anything in my history that gives you a red flag as to my fit for this role? And thankfully, I asked that because they were like, yeah, looking at your resume, it seems a little disjointed. Nothing really connects. And I'm thinking to myself, number one, I always put on there that I'm a military spouse. Now, mind you, I did not have to PCS, primary change of station. I didn't have to travel because she was already reservist. But just a person seeing military spouse, you would realize they may have different roles. So why even bring that up? So that just speaks to the fact that some people unfortunately have some biases against, the military community. But I was able to just, spit some things off the top of my head, like, oh, well, this role here and this role here gave me the transferable skills to be able to knock it out the park for this current role that I'm going for. And pretty much I got the role. But anyhow, it really was a challenge to say I love being a military spouse, so I put it out there. So of course people challenge you on that. They have their preconceived notions. They think that, oh, if I hire you, then you may not even be here for a year because you may be going off, with your spouse if they get called into, duty.
Right.
So,
why am I going to invest in you if you're going to go somewhere? Yeah.
Exactly.
I get it. I get it. For our other panelists, I have friends who their husbands are in the military, and that they constantly are upset about their husbands not being able to connect with non-military or civilian people, and how hard it is to adjust to civilian life. Did either of you struggle with being a civilian when your tour was over?
Yes. So everybody in the Marine Corps is crazy. And it's hard sometimes to make adjustment. When you first come out, you're not used to the freedom, really. Everybody's just kind of relaxed and laid back, and something simple like waking up, they wake up when they want to wake up. They don't exercise when you feel like I still feel like everybody should exercise. To this day, I feel like everybody on this planet should be doing some form of exercise. And everybody's like, they're like, no, get out of here with that. I don't want to go. So it takes some adjustment, but I always feel like it's good adjustments. It's good adjustment. They might not feel like it's good adjustment, and they might call you controlling and bossy, but I think it's good adjustment. And it's all, the military teaches you to be more focused and more disciplined. And you come out and you're like a natural born leader. You automatically go into being a leader mode every chance you get. And trust me, you're bossy. So I have to learn to like fall back and not be so bossy all the time, because if wherever I go, I'm like, okay, let's do it this, da, 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 da. And then I'm like, okay, let me step back.
Take a step back.
Because I don't want to be so bossy. But then I'm like, in my heart, I'm like, they need direction. They need a plan. Like, I can't be a part of something that doesn't have a plan. If you don't have a plan and it's just chaotic, I'm not a part of that. If I'm a part of it, I need a plan. I need communication. I need you to be on point like that. So I think that all comes from the military.
Yeah, and that's probably really hard when you don't have that kind of people around you, and you know, they're not able to focus. It's probably really hard for you to step back and accept that they're not that way.
Yeah, when you have somebody that's not focused or not driven, if I had to deal with somebody that is they don't really have that ambition, that would probably be a problem for me. They probably would not be my friend. Not that I don't have friends that don't have ambition, because my close friends, I could probably tell her to get some ambition, but just something.
But if they're not, they don't have drive and they're not.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it. How about you, Juliet?
Yeah, I think, you know, what's interesting is when I came out, you know, I had a really great high school years in high school. So I had skills to fall back on. I knew that I did not want to come back out and be a police officer. I could have done that, but I did not follow that route. So for me, transitioning out, you know, when I got out, you know, there is a loss. There's a true sense of loss. You don't really know where you fit in, and coming back home, let's say it that way, right? Coming back home becomes a struggle, because what we have to understand, and this is what I've been saying to everybody since I became the director for the Division of Veterans Affairs in Jersey City, is that we have to understand that veterans went in out of high school. Their parents took care of them until they were 18 years old. The military then took over. They took care of them until they were 22. If they spent 8 years or more, you know, you're getting up there in age. And in the military, we don't have the knowledge, especially if you're not an officer, you don't have that knowledge of networking and building a network and creating people around you that can support you and get you connected to the proper channels. And so, you know, you have the government take care of you after your parents have taken care of you, and you're lost when you come out, because now you're expected to adult yourself. You are trained, and they spend a lot of money training us when we go in, but they don't train us to come home. They don't help us transition home. And so the difficulty then becomes coming back home and finding out that all of your friends have moved on. They've gotten these great jobs. They went to college. They have networks. They are building these great careers, and you're starting over. You're literally starting over. And so when you come out, people are like, you expect me to pay you what for what? No, you're going to start as nothing against cashiers at Home Depot. Really.
Right, but you're going to start out as a cashier at Home Depot.
Start out as a cashier at Home Depot, and then you're going to work your way up from there. And here is this person who has served 4, 8, 12, 16, some of them 30 years, and you want them to start back on the bottom because their skills either are not transferable, or they honestly don't have the skills, the civilian skills, to do the job. So they're stuck and they're lost. And now they need help figuring out what it is they want to do and what they want to become, because they've already served their country.
Right.
So it becomes a true difficulty figuring that out. no one has dreams and aspirations in the military of becoming anything more than what they went into the military to become.
Right.
And they come out now, and now you're telling them you have to figure out what you want to do. Well, working in an office for many of these men and women,
Not what they want to do.
not an option. And that becomes a struggle for them. And so really helping, for me, the transition, because I had skills, shorthand skilthand skills, I'm dating myself.
I'm not going to say.
Shorthand skills. People are like, what's shorthand?
Let alone my kids don't even know what cursive is. So
yeah, that right there. I just dated myself. So, I had shorthand skills and typing skills. I was then able to get an office job when I came out, thank God. And went on from there, went to school, but that, that's what a lot of veterans, and especially our Marines, our Marines are, many of them are infantry, right? They're boots on the ground. They're the ones
literally
first in, and they struggle. I see the struggle every day for our Marines and our soldiers in the Army, and they come out and they don't know which way to turn. And so, helping them, like how I helped myself understand what I need to do, helping them understand, finding out what it is they really want in life. That helps them really kind of get moving toward going back to school or starting a business. Whatever that looks like for them is what we all need to understand. That's why the transition is so difficult.
Yeah, I guess with your position with Veterans Affairs, I mean, what does that look like generally? Is there like a formula that all the different Veterans Affairs offices have? Is there nonprofits that support that specific mission to get them back at work? Like what, and how do they find out about this stuff? Is it, sometimes, people, we're seeing now that for the women that we serve, they're floundering because they've been in the position they were in for so long, and now all of a sudden they're downsized and they don't even know where to start. They've never been connected with nonprofits or social services. They don't know who to go to, and they have in their mind what it looks like to be that person that needs to get that help. How do you handle that for veterans?
So our division recently partnered with NYU. I had the opportunity and blessing to partner with NYU to provide coaching. My life was blessed when I met Willa Edgerton Chisler. She was an amazing coach for me. She led me down the right paths for myself as a business owner, and she really helped me engage and become aware of what it is I wanted and where it was I wanted to go. And so I operated a business for a good 14 years. For our veterans, that NYU partnership for us out of our division was the best thing we could have done for our veterans. We are in cohort 2 currently. NYU has provided 12 coaches for this second cohort. And I believe the first cohort, we had 9 coaches for 9 veterans. And providing coaching for them seems to help them really kind of get an idea. And I'm targeting the veterans in colleges because they're going back to school to become what it is they want. But then what do they do when they graduate? And so really finding a coach that can help them lay out, understand what it is to set goals, create those goals, put those goals into measurable steps of being able to get to a place of completion, and seeing that success kind of helps them build confidence in themselves. And I think that's the most important thing for our veterans, is to get some level of coaching. And then get in, as far as organizations, there are tons of organizations out there that we connect our veterans to for resources. There are organizations to help them start their business. There are organizations to help them, transition out of business into corporate. There are so many things for veterans. And what I would say to veterans is, please, for the love of all that's holy, show up to your VA, show up to your local veterans office, show up and be a part of the communities that have the resources. Because if you don't show up, eventually what's going to happen is those funds are going to dry up, and then you won't have any resources to provide you with the assistance that you require. So coaching, to me, I believe, is the quintessential resource I can provide our veterans and give them a leg up to understand what it is to move themselves forward and really get connected to great people.
Right, right. That's good to know. Melanie, how about you? Is there any, what did you do? Where did you get support? You know, do you want to talk about that journey at all? And maybe if you know some of your colleagues, maybe what they've done.
When I first got out, it was actually my sister that hooked me up with a job. So I have my family to lean back on. But I do find that the VA is very helpful. Before I got out, they helped me. I had like a coach tutor help me with my resume, help me with my job search before, because I was getting ready to get out. So I went, there's like a exiting process that you go through, and they did help you. And but to hit the rubber to the road, it was my sister that said, I know somebody that's hiring. And that was like my first job out of the Marine Corps. Right now, I still use the VA services. And I tell, just like Juliet said, any veteran, you must show up there. You must show up there. You definitely need to go. They have so many services. Like every time I go there, they ask you 50 million questions. What do you need? They have everything. So every time I meet a vet that's not going, I say, go there, go there. Right. Even I see the homeless veterans and I'm like, did you go to the VA? Go check out the VA. They have places you can live, but if they don't want to do that, they don't want to go there, then you can't force them. But the VA, I totally agree with Juliet. They do have services that can help you. I got a lot of help from the VA. I still go to the VA, and my family helps me a lot too.
Excellent. You've got a great family. I think we all wish we had your family. They're here tonight. They delivered.
They are.
I love that. I think that's beautiful. Sam, is your wife still in the military, or is she retired now?
She's out. She
She's
did
out.
her 16 years and she's out.
Yeah, that's enough. So, well, how hard was it for her? Is she, well, I know you have a new little one.
Yeah.
But other than that, what's her journey like?
So for her, it was definitely a journey. Coming out of the military, she did miss mainly her job. As a loadmaster, she traveled all over the world, so she missed the travel. And of course, the camaraderie, because I believe Juliet and Melanie, you can attest, it doesn't matter what time that person served, you meet up another military person, y'all can talk for hours. Just y'all connect on a whole different level. It's crazy. Or if you were friends and you didn't talk for like 10 years, you military friends, and then all of a sudden y'all see each other, it's not that, oh, how come you didn't pick up the phone? It's like y'all picked right back up from where you left 10 years ago.
Yes.
The military community just has a unique bond. So it was a bit of a transition for her. Thankfully, she found an organization called Workforce Opportunity Services. And they had a program where they took military members, trained them up, skilled them up, and put them into corporate roles. And thankfully, she got into that. And we were at NJIT, New Jersey Institute of Technology, where they took courses on getting them prepped for, being able to be placed into the corporate world. And thankfully, she got hired by Hewlett Packard as a project manager. And through that whole situation, that's how I came in touch with Willa. And definitely have never been the same again. Yeah.
Wonderful. Awesome. I love that. It's a small world. I love that. So Melanie touched on something that, I wanted to kind of, I guess, highlight or sadly highlight, is that New Jersey is home to more than 340,000 proud veterans, yet so many live with wounds that we can't see. So many are going through issues and challenges of, you mentioned homelessness. It's not right. It should never happen. Lack of counseling, lack of training, when you know that these services are out there. What can we as individuals, as civilians, as an organization, Dress for Success Northern New Jersey is best known for the clothing that we provide women. People hear Dress for Success and they're like, I'm going to look good. And that's great. You can dress up nice and look pretty, but if you don't have the confidence and the competence behind you to fill that suit and to go into those jobs, you're not going anywhere fast. So I guess my question to all of you is, what can we do to be better and to do more to serve not just the men and women of the military, but their spouses as well? Anybody who wants to go first?
Communicate your services, advertise. The people are out there and they need the help, but they don't know. So a program like this, definitely I would say advertise. If you don't have like a Facebook account, maybe start setting up a Facebook account. Let people know that you exist, that they can come to you and get more than just clothes. If they need services, there's people there that will not judge them, that will not make them feel belittle them or anything. Because a lot of times people don't go to places because they feel like they're going to be belittled. Yep. So they might not go, but you have to make them have the type of organization that makes them feel comfortable in their skin, comfortable where they're at, to tell you, I have this problem. Can you help me?
Right. And that's the one thing I love about our organization, is that we've got so many women from so many places in their journey, be it some women come to us and they're living in their car. We have some in shelters. We have some that are married to wealthy men and are trying to find their way after however many years of being taken care of. And now they're one of finding their own way. We have women that have been abused and victimized, and just about every kind of woman you can imagine. And at the end of the day, what I love is that it's a sisterhood. It doesn't matter where you're at in your journey. There's women that are there to build you up. We have men that volunteer with us that are just as valuable and important. I lovingly call them our man ambassadors. But without their support and without their love and appreciation for what it is that we're doing in our journey, we're not going anywhere either. And so I love that our organization is trying to put all that together. I feel like we haven't done enough for the veterans, and maybe it's not partnering with the VAs. Maybe that's an avenue. I don't know how many military people know that we're a resource, and I don't know how to get that out there. So, but we do have Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, Instagram. We have all that stuff. But if you're not looking for us, and when you hear us, Dress for Success, you think it's about the clothing, but it's not. So how could we get more in tune with the veterans? Anybody?
Oh, I would suggest go where the veterans are. Thankfully, I've just been blessed to be connected to so many people. Like Juliet mentioned, networking is not necessarily a skill for the enlisted or shared amongst the enlisted. In all honesty, correct me if I'm wrong, ladies, but you're kind of told not to network, so to speak. So LinkedIn has been phenomenal for me. It's just been able to connect me with people that I would otherwise never get in touch with. I've came across so many different organizations, one called Veterati. It's a free mentorship program where whether it be a veteran or a business person, they can be a mentor to military spouses and veterans or people that are currently in the military, active service members, and it's totally free. And actually, that's the service I used as a mentee at first to actually help me find a role at one point. And then I turned around and was like, hey, I learned some things. I could be a mentor too. So networking, I think, is a big one. Just like you were saying, Kimberly, people don't know what you have to offer for Dress for Success. Well, being a part of symposiums or panels similar to this, but all about veterans and talking about what you offer, it can be beneficial.
Okay.
Yeah,
Excellent.
Sam's right. Show up where the veterans are, and that's going to be half the battle, right? Create a resource booklet for veterans. If you're an organization like Dress for Success, you should have a resource book of other veteran or not of other, I apologize. You should have a resource booklet of veteran services for veterans so that when they do show up, you can say, you know, we put this together for you. Here's a list of all of the contact your local. So in our county, in Hudson County registrar's office, Hudson County Clerk's office has a list of all of the companies, businesses in Hudson County that provide 10%, 5%, 15%, 20%, any kind of discount to veterans, people who want to be listed through the county so that people know. Put that list together so that people know where they can go and get discounts. Put together a resource list that tells them, like Sam said, this organization that he spoke of, I haven't heard of that. So I would like to pick Sam's brain and find out what other organizations he knows. ACP also provides mentoring for veterans as well. So having things like that for them to put in a bag or to hand them at the door when they're walking away, so that they have this list of great resources and free services that can really benefit them. There are free classes they can take through Syracuse University. There are ways to be able to get them educated for free. Look at NPower. N like capital N like Nancy Power. They teach technology to veterans for free. They teach you cybersecurity, and then they help you find a job. And Helen Kogan is the CEO for that organization for New Jersey and New York, I believe. I hope I got her last name right, but they're amazing. What an amazing opportunity for veterans to be able to get educated in technology and walk away with certification to be able to make a living for their family. And half of our job at our office is getting, most of my job is getting connected to the companies that are able to be resources to our veterans. And that's what I pride myself in doing, is making those connections. And there are plenty of people out there to help veterans. There's no shortage of assistance. But again, veterans, many of them do not show up. We have homelessness, and we have people who struggle because, unfortunately, for many of them, even if they know of the services, they're so angry that they don't want to be bothered with anything else that has anything to do with the government, right? So it's helping them shift their mindset of, listen, it's okay. You're angry. We're going to deal with that. We're going to get you the assistance you need to deal with that. But help yourself. Help us help you. To move yourself ahead. And it's helping them find this energy deep within themselves to want that. And a lot of them don't. Honestly, I've met homeless people that are like, I want to be on the streets. I don't want to be in a house. And people don't understand that some people just don't want to go into a home. They prefer to be on the street because of fear. And how do we help them? I still don't know how to help them and our homeless veterans. But there are organizations there are organizations for veterans who are on the street, Operation Chill Out, where they'll pay for a hotel for them for 3 nights. There are organizations. And then we have to also remember there are some veterans who have gotten out with a dishonorable discharge or other than honorable. There are discharge issues as well. So let's get them that assistance to be able to get their discharges upgraded so that they can get the services, because they can't get services with a dishonorable discharge. That's why some of them are homeless. You know,
Right.
they serve 8 years, they get caught with a little bit of marijuana, they get kicked out. That's a dishonorable discharge. You can't find some of them can't find a job, which is why some of them don't talk about their military service. But even if they do, you know, we've got a lot of them with some issues that they just need to be talked through. And there's so many of them. There's so many people. There's so many veterans. We have a list of over 500 veterans in our office alone. And there's myself as the director and my staff member. There are 2 of us.
Covering all of that.
You know, why isn't the VA hiring more veterans? That's always my question.
Right. Right. Oh my God. No, you know, the homeless thing, it's timely for me because I'm still on the community that I grew up in has a Facebook page, and a woman reached out and was venting about this poor homeless guy that was a vet, and you know, he won't take money from anybody, but he'll sit with you and eat with you. He won't take handouts, he won't take clothes, he won't do anything. He's a very proud man.
Yeah.
And you know, she was venting that the town had to come in and do something and rescue this poor guy and get him housing and whatever. And I was watching that, you know, these town Facebooks, you watch the dialogue with everybody. And at the end of it, there were people that said, have you actually engaged with him? Have you talked with him? Have you heard his story? Has he opened up? Is he willing to open up? And one of the people spoke up and said, he prefers his way of life because he owns it, he's chosen it. And it's hard for us to understand that.
Right.
But I think there's a lot of people in that position. And, you know, instead of us being on our high horse thinking we know what's best for everybody, it's important to understand what they think is best for them.
Correct. We want to fix everybody, especially
yes,
women.
we do.
We women really want to fix everybody.
Exactly. Band-aid everybody up, you know?
Yeah, Melanie said it best, right? Being like controlling and bossy. We really want to fix people.
That's our job. That's what we want to do.
Yeah.
So it's hard to not. I guess along those veins, what advice would you give someone either entering the military, knowing what it's like coming out, or someone who's gonna be coming out? What advice would you give he, she, their spouse, anybody? Just one little piece.
I'm going to mute myself for a moment.
Get your thoughts.
Yeah.
Anybody have something?
I would tell them to like get as much training as they can, like whether it be computer training or training like time management courses, leadership courses like that. Try to, whether you take them and pay for them yourself or you let the military pay for them, because they will pay for courses. Take the courses, because the courses that you will need in the real world. But I want to go back to when you talk about helping the military people, that is a very big challenge, because remember I said all the Marines are crazy. Your mindset is different when you're military versus civilian. Your mindset is different. And so when somebody comes at you and they say they're trying to help you, you don't even trust them. You don't even trust them for some reason. I don't know. I'll be the first to tell you, I don't even trust people. Nope, don't give them any of your information. They're going to steal your identity. They're going to do all kinds of stuff to you. So the trust is so crazy. You have crossed over into crazy because you're like, I don't trust them. Don't trust them. They're going to steal from you. They're going to do this. Everybody's out to get you. Everybody, I don't know why. Everybody's out to get you. And it sounds crazy, and I don't want to be crazy, but that hinders a lot of people from getting help, is the trust factor. You're talking to them, but they're not even listening. The communication is, you really, really have to try. You got to be a great communicator to communicate with the military people. You have to be a great listener, that you can listen to them and let them have their say and try to understand them. Those are the type of people that do well with the military. If you're quick, they're just going to run away.
Okay.
But if you can communicate good and listen to them good and comprehend when they speak, then those are the people that will do well with the military.
Okay. Excellent. Excellent. Thank you for that.
I actually had a question. I'm sorry about the background noise. I had a question about going into the military. Did you guys actually, because you could go in 17, 18 without education and then coming out, do they offer, I mean, I'm sure they offer classes, but is that something that should be mandated maybe to change the system up? So when you do come back into the real world, that coming out, you already have a degree in this, or free schools for the VA provide classes that can do training or anything like that? Because I know that once out, a lot of people they have PTSD or they have mental health issues that they're not dealing with properly. But is there anything that the VA offers, and that's something that can help out? Like, I just think about that.
Great question, my nephew Kenny. When I was in, they did offer, at that time, colleges came onto the base after hours, and it's up to you if you want to go join. And I did join, and I didn't even realize it. I was going to a place called Tidewater Community College, and I was studying chemistry, because it ended up putting me in a chemistry lab later on in my lifetime. But yes, at that time, you could go to the course for free. However, you could be tired. Like, I feel like I'm the exception that I would say, okay, first of all, your day starts like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. You're running every day. Then you go to work. Then you're tired. So the thought of, oh, I got to go to class and study, it does take a bit of determination and say, I want to do this. But yes, back then when I went, they did offer that. Hi, Kenny's coworker.
We're gonna go now. We're going to clinical, but I did want to ask that question. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for joining us.
No problem.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Should we ask for any more questions?
Yes. Does anyone
Before we
else
go
have
to the question, I
Yeah,
did
can
want
we
to
go
talk
back
about
to-
that
Right.
last question that you asked, Kim. I think one big piece that military members, whether entering or exiting, can do, and it's going back to that networking piece. I think people are our greatest resource. Just like Juliet said, she didn't know about some of the organizations I talked about when she was talking. I didn't know about some of the things that she was talking about, and also Melanie. So for me, as you mentioned, social media, I think it's an opportunity for us to connect with people all over the world and all these opportunities. I would tell any military member entering or leaving, get on LinkedIn. As a veteran, you can get a full year of premium for free. Premium gives you so much access and insights into so many things, and there are some free courses on how to use premium.
I don't even have premium, so that's fantastic.
You can search for anyone with the title veteran, connect to as many veterans as possible. You will find that you have so many organizations out there that are looking to hire veterans. You find organizations like Juliet mentioned, like Empower, that are training and skilling up veterans. Matter of fact, I found when we got here, I'm in Texas, we actually, in our first home, lived near a man named Marcus Carey, well known in the LinkedIn space because he's a cybersecurity CEO who successfully came out of the military, started a company, was acquired, and is just doing great things. But he was pretty much promoted on LinkedIn. Like, they did a big spot on him. It's crazy. It's crazy who you meet. So my suggestion is network, network, network. LinkedIn is a great opportunity to network.
Excellent. Juliet, you were going to add something?
You know, communication, like Melanie said, is key. Networking, obviously, I was going to share that as well. But I think one of the most important things when you're coming out or going into the military, either way, is really knowing yourself. So many of our young people go in, they don't, people think it's like a fruity, like kumbaya statement that I make, but it's really not. They don't know themselves, which is why they go into the military in the first place, because they want this identity. And sometimes we want an identity of power, and being in the military is I'm not gonna lie, it's an identity of power, right? Like, wow, you're in a like it's a glorious thing to do, to serve
It's
your
a
country.
status that you earn, and it's something good you can stand
It's
behind.
why, yeah, it's why when we come out, I almost said these kids, I was a kid once. It's why when you come out of the military and you come out of basic training, you wear your uniform back to your high school. There's a
Yes.
certain level of status that's involved in it. So getting to know yourself, whether going in or coming out, I think is so important for people, because it makes it easier for you to adjust for yourself and reacclimate into society as a civilian. Going back in as a civilian, going in is hard. It is a mental, it's a mind, words
Yes.
I can't use on here. I trained with Marines for security police, for my security police duties, and what they do to those Marines, what they do to them in their minds, what they say to them and how they train them.
You got Paris' phone number?
I just
You
Harry's
did all that, didn't even get her number.
Mute yourself.
Yeah, wherever you are.
Mute yourself.
Eric's gonna give you the phone number later.
I've seen what they do to Marines when they train, and I'll be honest with you, my Marines, I tell people all the time, if I have a problem, I'm going to my Marines first. They are loyal to the core, not to the core, Marine Corps, but to the core of their soul. They are loyal to a person when they know, and Melanie said it, when they know they can trust you.
Right.
And our Marines know they can trust me, so they come to me and they talk to me and they tell me what they're going through. And they struggle with things because of how they were, I'm going to use, for lack of a better phrase, raised up in the Marines.
Right.
And God bless them. Like, our Marines are some of my best friends in this position, because if I have a problem tomorrow, I guarantee you at the front door will be my Marines.
Right.
First up front, I don't have any doubts whatsoever in my mind. But they struggle because they're still trying to figure themselves out. And some of them have been out for 10 years and they don't know what the heck they're doing. So
Right.
Yeah, definitely communication and absolutely networking will help you, but learn to get to know yourself and exercise. Melanie said it earlier, exercise. Because look, everybody's PTSD is different, right? We all have PTSD coming out of the military. That's not a lie. It's just some people have far more severe PTSD than others. But we've all suffered some sort of trauma in some small way, small or large way, going in and coming out. It's traumatic coming out or going in. So get to know yourself.
Right. Right. Excellent advice. Before I close us out, I could keep going on forever. You guys are an awesome panel. Does anyone else have any questions you'd like to ask or any comments that you'd like to add before we close the evening? And don't forget to take yourself off mute.
I'm the only one who hasn't said anything, because I just am fascinated by what you all have said. I want to thank you so much for sharing your story, for sharing this. I'm a coach. My husband is part of a military family. His dad was lifelong military in the Air Force. He was a weatherman. And my husband was part of those groups of people that used to move every 3 years. But nobody, my father-in-law actually passed away before he could really talk about what it was like. And of course, it was different back then. But I am just struck. I'm also a psychologist. So I'm just listening to, I have so many feelings right now, the transition, the difficulty of the transition. I feel really angry that the training that you get, they let you leave without training you how to go back into the real world. And so, for example, Juliet, she and one other person are dealing with hundreds of people who have great need, and especially based on what you all give to the country. When they talk about how the Veterans Administration is broken, and they've been looking for a long time for someone to actually manage that. And we used to hear about how bad the medical opportunity, or, the treatment of veterans was. But it just, anyway, I do want to process, but I'm so glad that there was, that you all provided, that there was this panel. Thank you, Kim, for that. And I'm hoping that a whole lot more people watch this session, because as a new member of Dress for Success, I was also listening for what we could do to help or to reach out. And you gave lots of ideas, but anyway, I just want to say, I'm just kind of fumbling around here, but thank you so much for sharing your story. It was meaningful, and definitely want to try to figure out what we can do to help or make a difference or help you all in what you do.
Absolutely.
If Dress for Success really, really wants to be in that space, offer a roundtable for women veterans, male veterans to come to communicate with each other. They need to communicate with each other because they understand their lingo.
Yeah.
And yeah, I bust on Marines because I'm about to get Melanie a packet of crayons. But we rib each other. My Marines call me Chair Force. I tell them that without us, there would be no good food, because if it wasn't
Or
for
good
us
places
feeding
to
them,
stay.
hello, thank you. So,
But getting that opportunity to connect, you think?
we love each other. We do. We understand the pain that each other has gone through, maybe not as deeply as our Vietnam veterans, because we have to remember, right? Those guys were stripped from their home.
Yeah.
And they
Had
were
no
put
choice.
in an area of war. They had no choice. And they need to be around other veterans communicating because they're in pain, and they're still in pain, and understandably so. But the rest of us went in as volunteers, and we've experienced things that we did not like, but to be around each other brings us so much joy that if Dress for Success is really serious about helping the veteran community, start there. It's so small. It's
Right.
just a small piece, right? Open your door, set up some chairs, and say, hey, veterans, come in.
Come on in.
Yeah, let's have a right. So I started a thing called Coffee and Conversations in Jersey City, and it's virtual right now, but have a coffee house, have a
Right.
coffee thing, have something.
Right.
But they will come for coffee and donuts and,
Okay.
and Danishes, right? But they really are coming for the camaraderie of each
Okay.
other, and they'll open up busting on each other and slamming each other's branch of service, and but they'll get into conversations of where they're hurting and why they're hurting, and then looking for connections to resources. And that's where you pop up with your booklet and you say, hey, we've got a booklet of resources for you. Here's this for mental health, Wounded Warrior Project. Just list, you've got 3 of us right here that have connections to various different organizations that we can. Fairleigh Dickinson is in more, they do things for veterans as well. There are so many things. If you put that booklet together and you have them in for coffee, you've got them.
Okay.
You've got them.
Excellent. That sounds, one of the things that Willa and I always talk about is what's next after these fireside chats, because the value of having the conversation and opening that door is, you can't deny the value there. But then what? Then after we've talked, after we've heard what's been said, then what? And so that seems like a very rational next step for this is what else we're gonna do. So I appreciate
think-
that. I think, and it wouldn't be that hard to do.
Right.
And whether we help 1 or 10 or 50, or it doesn't matter if, if we're there to support them, then, that's what we need to do.
And 1 tells 1, which tells 10, which tells 50. So
Right.
I think the other thing, what Melanie said, is the whole issue of trust.
yeah.
Yes.
So I agree, or I totally would trust that you having a coffee, house roundtable discussion, but it needs to be, you have to cross that barrier of trust. And so how it actually happens has to be handled with care, because
Yeah.
people aren't necessarily going to trust people who they feel don't really understand who they are, what they've been through.
Right.
And so
That's
I
why
thought
they won't talk to you first, Debbie. They'll talk to another vet.
Right.
exactly. So I thought that was a really important insight.
And I think to your point with trust, it'll be good to get a veteran advocate for your program,
Yes.
a
Right.
veteran that can speak up and say, hey, come on, I'm going to this. Why don't you join?
Right.
Because when Melanie was talking about, oh, don't give out your information, that person, they're trying to steal your idea. You sound just like my wife. Like before I got with my wife,
That's a Maureen thing,
I
man.
never
Come
thought
on,
about
Sam.
tearing up my name and stuff. I'm shredding documents. I'm like, okay.
What's going on here?
She's listening to
Yeah,
what I'm saying on the
yeah.
phone. Like, wait, you said what? You said too
Right.
much information. I'm like, oh my gosh. So
Right.
yeah, trust is very big.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
really important. Yeah.
Yeah. It
Great point.
is. It is. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Anyone else have anything? Okay. Nothing. All right. I cannot thank all of you enough for tonight. This, for me, was so eye-opening and enjoyable, and just my wheels are turning. Now I'm gonna have to call Willa and tell her all the things I'm thinking about. Us as an organization we are trying to do more and be better and communicate more about what it is that we do, and we're working on a marketing plan and a strategy, and just how we get the word out there. And I feel blessed now that I have you guys all in our contact list and our wheelhouse, because I will be calling and asking for some ideas and suggestions, and if you have introductions that you can make. I think we're on to something good, and I appreciate you sharing, because what you've lived through is a journey, and it's kind of, you've turned back a page in your book, and shared that with us tonight, and I'm honored that you agreed to do that for us. So I thank you deeply, and I look forward to keeping you all in my book of contacts and referrals and my go-to peeps. So thank you all so much.
Yeah, thank you. It was really
Thank
good.
you.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful evening and a very, very happy Thanksgiving.
Happy
Thank
Thanksgiving.
you. You also.
Thank you.
Thank
Happy
you.
Thanksgiving, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Bye-bye.
Thanks,
Bye,
family.
everyone.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
family.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
Julie and Sam,
Sam, mass
Kimberly,
respect for you,
Debbie.
brother. Congratulations on the baby.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Bye.
Have a great night,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.